So what if I told you that the busiest car lot in Ohio doesn't actually have an inflatable gorilla on the roof?
I mean, I'd say you're probably looking at a digital lot, right?
Exactly. In fact, it doesn't have a physical roof at all. Over the last 2.5 years, over 500,000 people walked onto this invisible digital lot. And one single vendor quietly bussed in over 100,000 of them.
Which is just a massive claim.
It really is. But today, we have the leaked analytics to actually prove it. Welcome to today's deep dive.
Yeah, and it is just a staggering amount of data to look at,
Mhm.
especially because, we are bypassing all the usual marketing theory and looking at raw, unfiltered numbers. We have our hands on a slide deck titled 2.5-Year Toyota Dealer Case Study for a local dealership right in Ohio.
Right, and when we say data, we mean the absolute holy grail for marketers. We are talking about screenshots straight from the dealership's GA4 dashboard, plus actual Google search results.
Yeah, this isn't like some weekend flash sale or a one-month marketing blitz that just got lucky.
No, not at all. This data spans exactly 2.5 years, from January 1st, 2024, all the way to June 30th, 2026.
Wow.
Right. That is 30 months of continuous tracked consumer behavior in a highly competitive local market.
And that 30 months gives us a really bulletproof baseline. I mean, it completely filters out seasonal anomalies or pandemic hangovers or even just temporary algorithm glitches.
Yeah, those little blips that mess up short-term data.
Exactly. When you have a data set spanning back to early 2024, you can see the actual structural shifts in how consumers are finding local businesses.
So our mission for this deep dive is to decode this specific data, right? We want to figure out exactly how one particular vendor managed to completely dominate digital foot traffic and lead generation for this dealership.
Right, kind of look under the hood.
Exactly. We're going to cut through all the noise of modern digital marketing, explore the actual mechanics of their strategy, and show you what measurable success really looks like in an AI-driven search landscape. Okay, let's unpack this.
Well, looking at the GA4 dashboard, the sheer volume is where we really have to start. Over that 2.5-year period, this Toyota dealership logged 619,998 total active users.
I mean, just think about that. Over 500,000 active users hitting the digital lot.
Right. And naturally, the number one source of that traffic is just general Google organic search, which you'd expect.
Yeah.
But row 3 of this data is where the anomaly sits. It's a vendor called dealerleads.com.
Yeah, and they are far beyond just some minor referral source. Dealer Leads drove 107,885 of those active
Which
users.
is huge.
It's massive. That is 17.4% of the entire pie, basically generating over 123,000 individual sessions from this one vendor alone.
What's fascinating here is the specific composition of that traffic, because they are the absolute number one highest vendor for the first visit event. Out of their total traffic pool, they brought in 102,875 first-time visitors.
Okay, wait, I have to push back here for a second.
Sure, go ahead.
Because, I mean, web traffic is notoriously cheap, right? Anyone with a budget can just buy a massive wave of bots or generate accidental clicks from, those sketchy mobile ad networks, or just blast a domain with empty page views.
Oh, absolutely.
So how do we know these 100,000 plus people actually care about buying a Toyota in Ohio? Like, a first visit is still just a first visit.
Yeah, the skepticism is completely warranted. But we have to look at the actual difficulty of the metric. In net new acquisition, generating 100,000 unique first-time introductions to a hyper-local business is incredibly complex.
Because they don't know the brand yet.
Exactly. We are talking about retargeting pools where the user already has brand affinity and you just follow them around the internet. Getting a complete stranger to cross the digital threshold for the very first time is honestly the most expensive and difficult maneuver in local search.
Right, so the raw volume is just the top of the funnel. It's
Yeah.
just the introduction.
It sets the stage, yeah. To determine if this traffic is composed of bots or just accidental clicks, we really have to move past the acquisition volume and examine the anatomy of their engagement. We have to isolate what these specific users did the very moment they landed on the domain.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting. Because if we compare this to, say, a physical grocery store, the raw first visit traffic is just the people walking through the automatic sliding doors, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So a passive page view is like someone wandering the aisles, eating a free sample of cheese on a toothpick, and then walking right back out to their car. I mean, they consumed bandwidth, but they provided absolutely zero commercial value to the business.
That's a great analogy. But what the business actually needs are the people who walk straight up to the butcher counter, point at a specific cut of steak, and say, wrap that up.
Yes.
And when we isolate the specific user intent metrics in this GA4 data, dealer leads completely dominates the high intent actions.
Let's look at the events that actually require human friction, because bots don't really do friction well. First, dealer leads is the #1 vendor for the action bar click event, logging 2,806 interactions.
Right. And consider the UX reality of an action bar click.
Hmm.
The user is typically on a mobile device, right? They're navigating a sticky interface at the bottom of their screen, and they're consciously choosing to engage with the primary conversion tools, whether that's finding hours of operation or looking for a contact method.
But the behavioral signal gets much stronger than that, because dealer leads is also the #1 vendor for a metric called click to call, driving 1,223 of those events.
Which is just wild for one vendor.
Right. That is 12,223 times a person looked at their screen, saw the dealer's phone number, and made the conscious decision to tap it and initiate a real-time human-to-human conversation.
Yeah, the friction involved in a click to call is massive. I mean, bots don't click to call.
Obviously not.
And someone accidentally tapping a banner ad, they immediately hit the back button to escape. They don't just sit there and wait for their phone's dialer application to open up and start ringing.
Yeah.
So over 1,200 direct phone calls generated from a single vendor is a definitive signal of deep, bottom-of-the-funnel purchase intent.
They also led the pack for the Form Submit event with 410 submissions.
Right.
That's 410 people physically typing out their personal identifiable information and handing it over. But the data points that really show the depth of the engagement are the CTA interactions. The dashboard shows an event called CTA Interaction, and dealer leads generated 42,914 of these events.
Which is huge. That volume of CTA interaction proves the traffic isn't just bouncing. I mean, they are highly, highly active.
And it goes even deeper with the element configuration event, which basically tracks higher engaged CTAs. They totally dominated this category with 43,056 events.
Yeah, and we should explain what that means.
Right, because in the context of modern automotive UX, element configuration isn't just passive reading. This means these users are toggling different trim packages, expanding pricing calculators, adjusting down payment sliders, and configuring lease terms.
They're practically test driving the financing of the car right there on their screen.
Exactly, which perfectly validates your butcher analogy from earlier. These aren't people eating free cheese samples.
No. Not at all.
These are highly motivated local buyers standing at the counter, negotiating the price per pound, and figuring out exactly what they're taking home today.
Yeah, and when a vendor brings in over 100,000 first-time visitors, and those visitors then just systematically dismantle the dealership's website by configuring 43,000 elements and making over 1,200 phone calls, well, it completely rules out the bot hypothesis.
Right. Okay, so they completely dominate the analytics. The data proves the traffic is real and the intent is sky high. But this begs a massive structural question.
No, absolutely.
If dealer leads is bringing in all these net new, highly motivated Ohio car buyers, how is this traffic actually finding them before they even hit the dealership dashboard? To answer that, we really have to look at what's happening on the Google search results page itself.
Yeah, and the source material provides screenshots of two highly competitive national-level search queries, specifically Toyota Dealer SEO and Toyota Website SEO.
And the screenshots show dealer leads appearing right there on page 1 of Google organically.
Right.
Like, they aren't relying on sponsored ad placements. They own the organic real estate for these massive B2B terms.
Well, if we connect this to the bigger picture, it really highlights a critical mechanism of how modern search architecture actually works, because this resolves the logical gap of how a vendor site drives local traffic.
How so?
Well, in the search ecosystem, domain authority is currency, right? By engineering their own primary domain to rank for incredibly difficult national B2B terms like Toyota Dealer SEO, they signal to Google's core algorithm that their domain is a definitive, high-trust entity in the automotive space.
So they build this massive reservoir of trust with the algorithm at the national level. But how does that actually sell a RV4 in Ohio?
Right, that's the jump. It happens through an ultra-high authority referral network. Because their main domain has massive algorithmic trust, any local subdirectories or inventory feeds or localized landing pages they build underneath that umbrella, well, they inherit that trust.
Ah, I see.
So when a user in Ohio searches for local inventory, Google evaluates the landscape and basically sees this vendor's local asset as the most authoritative, trusted node in the network. So it actually ranks it above the dealership's own standalone lower authority website. They're essentially acting as a high-powered funnel.
Wow. I mean, it's the ultimate proof of concept. If they can out-engineer the SEO agencies fighting for the term Toyota dealer SEO, they obviously possess the technical architecture to outrank a local competitor for a regional car search.
Exactly.
But wait, I have to play devil's advocate here
Go
again.
to.
Because search engine optimization, like SEO, it just feels like a buzzword from 2015. It's practically a commodity at this point, you know? What makes this specific structural strategy actually work today in 2026?
That's a very fair question.
Because hasn't the game fundamentally moved past just ranking a blue link on a search page?
That is the exact pivot point of this entire case study.
Yeah.
You were entirely correct that the game has moved on. The way humans interact with information has fundamentally evolved.
Right.
We are moving away from typing choppy, fragmented keywords into a search box and moving entirely toward conversational AI and voice search.
Which brings us to the most cutting-edge data in the source material. We have a search query for voice search SEO for dealers. And again, dealer leads is the #1 organic result with a page titled Complete Guide to AI.
Yeah, they are.
But the organic blue link isn't the real story here, is it?
No, not at all. The most critical detail in this whole deck sits at the very top of that search results page, positioned way above every traditional organic link.
Right, it's Google's AI overview module. Because when a user asks a complex question today, the engine doesn't just hand them a list of websites to parse through manually anymore. It uses an LLM to read the index, synthesize all the data, and write out a conversational, definitive answer directly on the screen.
And nested directly inside that AI-generated summary, dealer leads is explicitly cited as the primary source of truth. Their entity, their logo, and their link are woven right into the AI's actual answer.
Man, traditional SEO is kind of like throwing a million business cards into a crowded room and just hoping someone picks yours up.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
But getting embedded in the AI overview, that is like being the trusted advisor whispering directly into the ear of the person making the buying decision.
And the mechanism to achieve that requires a complete paradigm shift. I mean, you cannot keyword stuff your way into an AI overview.
Right, the AI is too smart for that.
Exactly. To become the whisperer, you have to transition to entity-based SEO. You have to use semantic HTML and complex schema markup to structure your data so cleanly that the natural language processor actually views your domain as a factual database rather than just some marketing blog.
Interesting.
You have to answer the user's natural language questions directly and comprehensively.
So by writing comprehensive material like the Complete Guide to AI, they aren't just trying to rank for a keyword. They are actively training the artificial intelligence to view their domain as the ultimate authority on the subject.
This raises an important question, though. Consider how user behavior has shifted, particularly for local, high-ticket purchases like vehicles.
Okay.
Think about the context of a voice search. A user isn't sitting at a desktop typing Ohio Toyota dealer. They are in their car, pressing a button on their steering wheel, or speaking to their phone saying, hey, where is a Toyota dealer near me that has a service center open right now?
Right, it is deeply conversational. And it assumes the machine understands the context of their exact location and their immediate need.
Precisely. And traditional SEO totally fails at capturing that conversational context. Voice queries are long-tail, naturally phrased, and demand immediate, hyper-local answers. The AI algorithms are tasked with finding the single most authoritative source to answer that spoken question.
Right.
By optimizing for the AI layer, this vendor intercepts the consumer at the exact moment of highest intent.
So what does this all mean? If we trace this entire 30-month dataset backward, it basically maps out the absolute bleeding edge of consumer behavior. It starts with architectural dominance. They master entity-based SEO, semantic markup, and the AI overview algorithms.
Yeah, and that mastery grants them algorithmic trust, allowing them to capture those hyperlocal conversational voice searches from users on the go.
Which directly translates into the massive acquisition volume we saw earlier in the GA4 dashboard, right? The 100,000 plus first visit users who are actively looking for a local solution.
And because that traffic was captured at a moment of high behavioral intent, rather than through, passive scrolling or random display ads, they don't bounce, they actually execute the 43,000 element configurations, the form submissions, and ultimately the 12,223 direct phone calls to the local Ohio dealership.
Wow.
It is a highly engineered, straight-line pipeline from understanding how an LLM processes data all the way to a local salesperson picking up a ringing phone.
Which is the ultimate takeaway for you, the listener. Whether you are prepping for a marketing meeting or trying to scale your own local business, or honestly just fascinated by the mechanics of digital ecosystems, this case study is a blueprint.
It really is.
Success in the modern economy isn't about being the loudest voice or having the biggest digital billboard. It's about structuring your data so perfectly that you become the most relevant answer at the exact millisecond a consumer asks an AI a question, and then making it completely frictionless for them to take the next physical step.
Yeah, it requires recognizing that the digital front door is no longer a static homepage. The front door is a dynamic algorithm, an AI assistant, and a voice query. If your digital infrastructure isn't built to communicate seamlessly with those non-human agents, you aren't even visible on the digital lot.
Right. It forces a total rethink of how websites are even supposed to function. And that brings us to a lingering thought I want to leave you with.
Oh, nice. Let's hear it.
Well, we just unpacked how a vendor achieved staggering local success by capturing the voice search and AI summary market. The AI trusted their architecture, so the AI fed them the traffic. But think about the long-term implications of that mechanism.
Yeah, it represents a fundamental shift in where the gatekeeping actually happens.
Exactly. If AI engines are now doing all the synthesis, if the LLM is deciding who the winner is and directing the traffic before a human user even has the chance to scroll through a traditional list of blue links, what does that mean for the future architecture of all local businesses?
That's a scary thought for some.
Right? Are we rapidly moving toward a reality where traditional visually designed websites become completely obsolete for human eyes? Will a local business website eventually just serve as a headless, raw backend database, existing solely for our AI assistants to read, parse, and talk to directly while we never actually visit the site ourselves?
It's definitely where the data is pointing.
Something to mull over the next time you ask your phone for directions to a local store. Who really decided where you were going?